So turn to the scale sheet, whatever scale sheet you have, if you have one in your binder or... The first thing you have to understand is how scales work. And we're not going to talk about day one, learn the C chord and the F chord, because I'm assuming, because you're not in the beginner class, you already know the basic 7 chords, correct?
Yes.
C, F, G, A, D, E, and B flat. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start from there and talk about why the chords work the way they do, how they work, and then next week when we start our regular classes, we can start talking more about playing by ear, playing with no music, and all kinds of things that we really couldn't get into because we didn't have enough time. And some of you were here one week and not the next week, and it was really difficult to kind of get consistent. All right. First thing, scales. When I was a kid, I learned scales probably like you did. One at a time, memorize them. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, over and over and over and over and over. Then the next week I would go and she'd say, learn a G scale. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And it was the same thing. Pretty soon as a kid, I just memorized them and I knew. Now, what my teacher didn't teach me is that the scales follow patterns, very distinct patterns. Major scales, and that's the only one we're going to talk about. There's other kinds of scales. There's minors and enharmonic minors and all kinds of different scales. In fact, there's a whole laundry list of them. But for you, we're only going to use the major one. How many notes in a scale? 8. From one C to the next C, it's called an octave. D scale, E scale, so 8 notes. There's a pattern, just like if you cook, there's a recipe. If I would have known the pattern, I wouldn't have had to memorize all the scales. I would have been able to just sit down and play them. So here's the rule. Whole step between the first and second step of every scale. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and half. So the rule is 2.5, 3.5. That's it. So if I want to play a C scale, what note's a whole step from C? Hello? D. D. Whole step from D? E. Half step from E? F. Whole step from F? G. Whole step? A. Whole step? B. Half step? C. Now the half step is where your thumb goes under on every scale. So it's 1, 2, 3. Half step is where your thumb goes under. So then you don't really even have to count. So it's 1, 2, 3, half step, whole, 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 and if you're lucky and you did it right, you should end up on a half. How simple, huh?
Yes.
Yes. You're supposed to, when I go like this for the video, you're supposed to go. Except you probably have to be more audible. All right, D scale. Now, the scale always has to go up alphabetically. Have you ever wondered why some scales have sharps and some scales have flats? Because they have to go up the alphabet. If I start on D and end on D, I have to go D, what's next? E, F, G, A, B, C. You write that in before you even start. You cannot have a C natural and a C sharp in the same scale. Okay? It has to go up alphabetically. That's why, because of the design of the keyboard, depending on where you start, some scales will have sharps, some scales will have flats. I like flats better. All right, D. So it's 2 whole steps and a half, right? What's a whole step from D? E. Whole step from E, is it F? No, F is only a half step. So what do I have to do to the F to make it a whole step from E?
Sharpen.
I have to sharpen. Half step is where my thumb goes under. Whole step is A. Whole step is B. What's a whole step from B? C sharp. And then I end up on D with a half step. So, if I ask you how many sharps are in the D scale, what will you say?
2.
2. What are they? F and
C sharp.
Now, here's profound statement number 1. Okay, on the video it's going to go beep, beep, beep. Profound statement number 1. The word key and the word scale mean the same thing. Okay, let's say it together. The word key and the word scale mean the same thing. Key signature, scale. If I say play a song in the key of D, it means the composer used the D scale to write the song. The melody comes from the scale and the chords come from the scale. Make sense?
Yes.
All right, let's do one more and then we can take a break on the video. A. First thing, if you're just playing it without even considering this part, you just start on A and you do the pattern. All right, from the first note to the second is what? A whole step or a half?
Oh.
Whole. So it is B. Now I need a whole step from B. C sharp. Okay, and then half step is where my thumb goes under. D, whole step. E, whole step is not F, right? F sharp. Whole step is not G, it is G sharp, and then A. So when I play, it's A, B, C sharp, E, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, sharp the C, sharp the F, sharp the G. Make sense?